Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. As Brittany said, I am a senior ServiceNow consultant, and I've been with GSI for almost 2 years now. I've worked in the ITSM space with products like ServiceNow and Remedy, among others, for about 20 years. We'll go ahead and get started with our presentation. So what are the Safe Workplace apps? These apps are designed to bring organizations out of the pandemic and allow them to return to work safely, bringing their employees back and getting started to work again. So the new Safe Workplace is a suite of applications to support organizations as they prepare to return to the workplace. It comes with one Safe Workplace dashboard. It's included as part of the Safe Workplace suite. It is free. However, to use this one Safe Workplace dashboard requires Performance Analytics Premium subscription. So if you don't have a premium subscription, you won't be able to use the one Workplace dashboard. And it's a comprehensive portfolio of return to work solutions. So what ServiceNow seeks to do is deliver employees the right experience. So proactively informing employees with targeted campaigns about returning to the workplace. This should be going on throughout the lockdown before the organization decides to start back up again, bringing employees back into the building. They want to provide easy access to information on health and safety. Plan for and manage return to workplace across functions, including assign and track tasks. And provides self-service shift workspace or neighborhood reservations with a virtual floor map. And schedule arrival times to stagger employee entry to automate cleaning tasks and assignments for shift readiness. This will help maintain safe distancing by allowing shift schedules to be staggered. So what are these solutions? Well, back in March, when the pandemic first hit, ServiceNow came out with this set of 4 applications: emergency self-report, outreach, exposure management, and response operations. And much of what we're going to look at today from the Safe Workplace suite are leverage some of the functionality that came out of these first 4 basic applications. What we'll look at today are the employee readiness surveys and health screening. We'll take a look at the employment, the PPP inventory management, and contact tracing and the Safe Workplace dashboard. So we have a few slides here on what's new in the Safe Workplace suite, and we're not going to go through everything that's new, but just know that since they came out with these applications in March, ServiceNow has been building upon the suite of applications every month. So for instance, in August, they came out with this Uber for Business integration so that employees can get to work safely through their commutes. They've improved the employee readiness surveys, the contact tracing app. They made improvements to the employee readiness core application to ensure seamless data interaction with Safe Workspace and emergency response apps and external systems. I mean, the list goes on and on, all the way back to June. And now this is some of the ServiceNow customers that are using the Safe Workplace applications. And now we'd like to get into the demonstration. So before organizations can bring employees back to work, they have to answer 2 questions. Number 1, are employees ready to come back to work? And number 2, if they are ready, is the organization prepared to welcome employees back into the building? So to answer the first question, they use the employee readiness surveys. So the employee readiness surveys is actually a survey that's built on just the ServiceNow platform. And we'll take a look at it. Of course, like any of the ServiceNow surveys, it can be customized. We'll go ahead and look at it in the Survey Designer. And I apologize for the speed. This is a developer's instance from ServiceNow, so the speed might not be optimal. There we go. So periodically, the organization should be sending these surveys out to their users to assess whether or not users are ready to come back to the workplace. First questions that they're asking is about any recent travel, if they've had any recent travel within the past month, where they traveled to. And a statement that best describes the employee's health status. And certainly one of the selections here is I prefer not to say. Again, all of these responses are customizable. So if these don't fit your needs, you can certainly change them. And the big question, how do you feel about a return to the workplace? And any other comments? So once the organization has assessed whether or not employees are ready to come back to work, then they need to bring them back into the building and get them started. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to impersonate one of our employees. That employee is Trudy Worlds. And Trudy wants to come back into the building and start working again. Well, first thing Trudy does is she's going to go out to the employee self-service center, and she knows that she does not have any PPE, and she needs PPE to get into the building. Through the employee service center, she can request personal protective equipment. She can ask for goggles, N95 mask, or gloves. She knows that an N95 mask is required. As you can see, you can order it here, and it will be delivered to her house. So she's going to request the N95 mask. And she's going to go ahead and request some gloves. All right. So now she has her PPE. She knows that she can get into the building, or at least make an attempt to get into the building. There's some other things that have to occur before she's going to be let in. During the pandemic, though, during the lockdown, the organization should have been informing Tracy of some of the requirements for coming back to work. And one of those things needed to come back to work is a daily contact log. So we want to know on a daily basis who she's been in contact with, especially if she's been working with anybody from the organization from home. This way, if Tracy comes down with any symptoms of COVID-19, then we know who she's had contact with within the organization, and we can inform those people. So there's her daily contact log for the day. Now, she should have also been doing voluntary health check-ins. She can get to those through the self-report dashboard. These voluntary health check-ins will allow her to update her team about her health status. And so for today, she's returning to work. Now, she would have gotten these reminders for her daily log and for her daily health check-ins from the system. And those reminders are sent through the outreach application. Out of the box, it comes with these 5 different outreaches. These are the employee workplace readiness survey, the voluntary check-in follow-up, the daily contact log reminder. So we look at one of these emergency outreaches. We can see how these are configured and sent out. You can see the response mode is this is a daily contact log through the email notification. We can obviously customize the notification here. We can also send this out through the Now mobile push application. The Safe Workplace audience, instead of on this screen selecting users and groups, what we can do is we can create different audiences that are a combination of users, groups, roles, companies, locations, and departments, and we can reuse these audiences over and over again. So makes it very easy if you want to put together audiences by location or by user groups or departments. So she's ordered her PPE and she's ready to come back to work. So now Trudy is going to get to the building, and she's going to be met at the building by David Liu. He's one of our Safe Workplace administrators, and he does the employee health screening. So Trudy comes. He's going to find her in the list here. He's going to take her temperature. And of course, she ordered her PPE beforehand and she has it. So now she's going to submit and she's granted entry into the building. Now you saw that based on the temperature and the fact that she had PPE, that Trudy was granted entrance into the building. Well, those are properties that are set by the system administrator and can be changed. We'll go ahead and look at where those properties are set. The health screening default properties, setting this value to true will track employee temperature. So you can determine whether or not when a record is created for an employee to enter the building, whether or not you're going to track the temperature and whether or not that person has PPE. You're going to set what the global property for employee temperature is. Here we have it set at 100.4, so anything above that temperature and the person would not be allowed into the building. We can also set the same data for visitors. not just employees. Now, if you're a large organization with many different locations and different needs at those locations, you can have location overrides. So for instance, right here in the Indianapolis, Indiana location, the temperature set is at 101. And they've also determined that they're going to track the temperature settings and the PPE settings when the user enters the building. One of the things that David failed to check, and he should have checked before he allowed Trudy to enter the building, was whether or not she was even cleared to enter the building. So there were some things that we sent reminders to Trudy about beforehand, and one of those things was her health verification. So he should have come in here and looked at the health and safety status of Trudy before he even took her temperature. And we see here that Tracy's actually not cleared to be able to come back to work yet. And the reason that she's not cleared is that she hasn't completed the employee health verification requirement. That verification is actually located out on the portal. This is the health verification requirement form. Again, this can be completely customized to fit your needs for verification. But Trudy should have completed this, acknowledged that she met all of these criteria. She doesn't have any of the symptoms of coughing or sore throat, sneezy or runny nose, or any of the other COVID-19 symptoms. So she agrees to all those things. And if David had done his job right, and checked on her, this time he would see that she's allowed into the building. So now you can see that she's been cleared. So there's a couple of things that work here. One is the health and safety requirement for having completed the employee verification. And then the other items are ensuring that she, her temperature and she had the PPE to get into the building. Now there are some other health and safety verification requirements that can be set. For the demonstration purposes, I only set the one for employee health and verification, but you can also require exposed contacts and self-report requirement. And then if there are a visitor coming in, you can also require a visitor. I'm going to go ahead and deactivate this requirement for the purpose of our demonstration here. So Tracy had a productive work day. She's gone home. She's going to do her due diligence and go back and submit a daily contact tracing log to let people know who she came in contact with today. She'll submit that. Now the next day, Tracy's returning to work. David's going to meet her at the door one more time. He's going to take her temperature. But unfortunately, her temperature is a bit high today. So of course she's denied entry into the system. So this raises some red flags. Number one, obviously Tracy's a little bit worried that she might have COVID. Let me close out some of these screens here. And now David, as a workplace safety administrator, he's a little bit worried that she may have infected some people. So what David's going to do, he's going to come into the system and he's going to create a case for her in the contact tracing app. And David's going to be the case manager for this. It's being reported today. And so he'll go ahead and submit this contact tracing case. Go back in. And we'll start work on the case. It sets it automatically to work in progress. The reported source is going to be the health screen. Go ahead and update that. So now David's concerned that Trudy may have infected some of her fellow employees if she does have COVID-19. So he's going to run these diagnostics to determine who she may have come in contact with during the workday and may have infected. So we'll use location, badge reader, employee daily log, and we'll use the Wi-Fi access log also. So a couple of things that you see here is the use of the Wi-Fi access log and the badge reader log. So outside of the people that Trudy knows that she came in contact with, she may have been accessing the same room as other people with her badge. So we'll pull in data from the badge readers, and we can also use Wi-Fi data access to pull in data of who else might have been in the same area as she is. Now we know that COVID-19 symptoms can start long before they appear. So we'll go back a week to query this data to see who all she may have come in contact with. And it won't let us go past today, day before today. So we'll save this. We've got a problem. You can see the diagnostic request cannot be run because the user has not consented to use the data. So one of the major areas of concern with an app such as this is we're tracking a lot of personal data of our employees. Some of those employees might consider that data to be private and they don't want it to be shared. Others may not care. One of the things that we have is a privacy consent. Now, out of the box, you can set privacy at a location level. We'll go ahead and look in the location privacy configurations. We can see that in the USA that you must have a privacy consent form before any of the data is shared in the system. Fortunately, one of the outreaches that we have in the system is for employees to complete a privacy consent. And that is this one right here. So Trudy has received her email for the privacy consent, but she never did acknowledge it. So David's going to give her a call and say, hey, Trudy, we would like to do some contact tracing. I know that you had a fever today. So if you don't mind, would you mind going out to the Employee Service Center and completing your privacy consent form? So she's going to do that. It's under our contact tracing app, user privacy consent. And she can either agree or disagree. So now that she's had her privacy consent form completed, and if she wanted to, she could change her preference here. If down the road she decides that she doesn't want it shared, we'll come back in as David. We'll go back into that case. And now I should be able to run my diagnostics here to see who she's come in contact with. All right, so you can see, even though we have it set at the location level that privacy consent forms are required, once they've completed the privacy consent form, then we can do what we need to do in the system. This is going to take a minute to complete. There we go. Okay, so you can see that the diagnostic request has been completed. And we should see we should have seen a list of impacted users here. And the reason we don't is probably because we still have it set at the location level to require consent forms from other people that she may have come in contact with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set the privacy for the US to not require the privacy consent forms here. And let's run another diagnostic request for her. There we go. Now you can see all of the impacted users that she's come in contact with. So what are we going to do with these users? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add them to this case. As you can see, I can do a select all here and add these users to the case. So Trudy and her 5 exposed contacts, all because they were location-based contacts that she came in contact with at work her first day back. What we want to do now is create case tasks for each of these users. So again, I'm going to select each of them, and now I'm going to create a case task for each. I'm going to assign these to somebody else, and I'm going to do it all in one time. I hold down the shift key and the down arrow, and I can multiple select rows. And now I can assign these out. We're going to assign these to Carol Coughlin. And of course, we're going to have to give her a due date to have these completed. We'd like to have these done fairly quickly. So now each of these has a task associated with each of them. And Carol's going to go in and start working each of these tasks. She looks at the case tasks. She sees each of these are assigned to her. And she's going to work with the first one, or the second one here. We'll work with Wilmer. So what is Carol going to do? Well, she's going to contact Wilmer, and she's going to, first thing she's going to do is actually start work. And that'll put this in a work in progress state. And now she's going to contact Wilmer and take a survey with him. And she's going to ask him if he's exhibited any of these symptoms. Now, these surveys are not part of the ServiceNow platform surveys. So these surveys can be taken more than once. The platform surveys you can only take one time. But these you can take many times. So as she's working through these cases, she can contact each of these users to see if they, their symptoms have gone away, or if they continue to have symptoms, or that sort of thing. So we'll say that he had a dry cough and shortness of breath, and that started around the 20th. If he says, no, I have not been in touch with my physician, then we're going to ask him if he needs any assistance with checkup or scheduling. If he says yes, then he can make a note of what's needed. And she can submit the survey. So as she's worked through this task, she can decide whether he's infected, cleared, or she can keep it under investigation here for a number of days. Of course, we only gave her until the 27th to get this done, but I think the best thing to do is to follow up with him tomorrow with another survey to make sure whether or not he's continued to have symptoms, or if his symptoms have gone away. I don't know where my task went. You can see it tracks the surveys that have been taken by for Wilmer. Now that his symptoms have gone away, she's going to go ahead and set this as cleared, and update this task. For Francis So, we'll start work on this one, and we'll take this survey. We'll submit it. But we'll set this one to infected. I don't know why it does that. That's an odd behavior from the system here. I don't know why it keeps doing that. And we'll close that task. So now Francis So should be, if we go in and go back to David Liu. If we go to our dashboard, not that dashboard. This overview dashboard. It will update, and it should show Francis Sue here as being infected. Now, one of the things that Trudy should have done when she got home from work after she was denied access into the building is she should have gone out and created her own self-report to let people know that she was having symptoms. But she went to the doctor, and now she's in quarantine. And when we look at our overview console again, now we see that this shows Trudy's update, and it also shows here on the on this dashboard. One of the main features of the Safe Workplace applications is the main Safe Workplace dashboard. So what ServiceNow has done is partnered with the CDC, and they overlay all of the COVID cases that have been reported throughout the world on this map. It takes a minute for it to update. There we go. And of course, the further you zoom in, then the more data you get back. This is real-time data. It's updated nightly by ServiceNow. We'll zoom out. So we have a few locations here. We'll go ahead and take a look at these Alabama locations. We can view the details of this location. We have no issues as far as employee status or confirmed cases here in Alabama. You can see here, though, that we have our PPE inventory. It's set at 2470. So this PPE inventory is located in the PPP inventory management application. We can take a look at the stock log, but we start with stock rooms. For any of this PPE data to show up on that map, the stock room has to be associated with a location that's that has a campus and that is part of the overall safe workplace application. So for instance, this Dallas, Texas location here, this is a location that's not part of the PPE, the safe workplace applications locations. So their consumables, they don't, if they had any, would not be on that map. I believe these, yes, they have, New York has some PPE gloves, but on the COVID-19 map, New York does not show up as a location. So to manage PPE inventory, you can add consumables manually. We can set thresholds so that if the number of in stock reaches a threshold of 300, then we can order another 800 goggles. If the N95 masks reach 300, then we can order another 1,000 of them to the Dallas warehouse, and these would go to the San Diego warehouse. If need be, a safe workplace administrator can actually assign out PPE to different locations. There we go. So we can assign some of these goggles here from the Alabama warehouse, and we can assign them out to individuals. So if somebody did not have access to the self-service application for whatever reason, and they needed PPE to be sent to them, then it could actually be done through the assignment process here. One of the main parts of the safe workplace application that unfortunately we're running out of time and I'm not going to be able to show you today is the workplace safety management. So through the workplace safety management, you can see we have region sites and campuses and buildings, and we can create shifts to allow people to come into the building at certain shifts, different shifts. They can create space reservations to reserve spaces, create arrival and scheduling schedules, workplace tasks. These tasks would be mainly for cleaning purposes. So if the first shift comes in and does their work, then you want to create a workplace task to have maintenance come in and do cleaning of the area so that the next shift that comes in, is working in a safe environment. there's a lot of moving parts into this workplace safety management part of the application. And unfortunately, with 10 minutes left, we just don't have time to get into it too much. But that's the foundation for the workplace safety applications. We've looked at the contact tracing, the emergency self-report, the emergency outreach, and the employee health and safety status parts of the application. Do have another slide that we wanted to get to. Or did we want to get to the, I apologize, did we want to get to the question and answers now? Or did we want to cover the services offering slide?
We'll do that, and then we can get to the questions and answers. I can bring up this slide, your last slide, if that's okay, if you want me to.
That's fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jean, did you want to cover this?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. We appreciate it. As kind of a follow-up to this, we would love to offer you a free 2 hours of our consulting services. We can go deeper into the workplace applications, answer any questions you have, do a tailored demonstration. Just feel free to send an email to the email address you see on the screen, and we'll set that up for you.
All right, perfect. I just want to thank Scott today, and I'm just going to move on and go through just a few follow-up items, and then we'll move on to the question and answer portion of the webcast. GSI provides extensive free educational resources, including our monthly educational webcast, monthly newsletter called the GSI Insider, our online resource center where you can access our on-demand webcasts, white papers, etc., YouTube, and then we also do provide virtual workshops as well. If you would like to sign up for our weekly email reminders for upcoming webcasts, our monthly newsletter, or to create an account to access our resource center, go to getgsi.com, go to resources and events on the main menu, select your platform, which would be ServiceNow here, and then select the appropriate link on the right. Check out our ERP Talk, which is a problem-solving forum where you can get your enterprise application questions answered, as well as contribute your answers to others' questions. And this is how you can stay connected with us on social media. All of our handles are currently listed on the screen. You can see our most up-to-date posts on webcast, events, industry insights, and so much more. While I see we already have a couple of questions submitted, I would like to remind everyone that if you would like to submit a question, you can do so using the questions panel and the GoTo webinar console window located on the right of your screen. If you minimized your console earlier, please click the left arrow to redisplay the questions panel. All right, and we have a couple questions that came in. The first question is from Tim. What is a typical time it takes to implement work?
I'm sorry, say that again, Brittany. You cut out.
Oh, this question is from Tim. What is the typical time it takes to implement the safe workplace?
So it depends on the size of the organization, the number of locations that you have to bring into the system. It's really kind of hard to pinpoint down a typical time because different organizations have different needs. Not everybody implements all of the functionality, or they're such a large size that it takes longer to implement than it would be a smaller company that had less locations. But typically, we're looking at least 3 to 4 weeks.
Perfect. And then our next question is from Alex. How are existing locations added to the Safe Workplace dashboard?
So there's a couple of ways of adding locations to the Safe Workplace dashboard. Of course, organizations that already have ServiceNow installed and implemented, and they've had their locations in the system for quite a while, those locations have to be associated to the Safe Workplace application. That can be done through an auto mapping, where you have the ability to go in and select the campus locations, or you add new campus locations, and then you would select your current locations and associate them to those campus locations. Now, when you do the auto map, it will go out based on the address for the location and determine the longitude and latitude of that location. Those coordinates are what allow the location to be mapped onto the Safe Workplace dashboard. You could also do it manually. If you only have a few of these locations that you need to map, you can just associate them manually and then manually enter the longitude and latitude coordinates. Those can be found on the web very easily.
Awesome. And then our last question here is from Brenda. How are stockrooms set up to track PPE on the Safe Workplace dashboard?
So we did cover that a little bit. Again, the stockroom has to be associated with a location that is associated with the Safe Workplace application. So not every location for some organizations would be in the Safe Workplace application. So if that stockroom is not part of the Safe Workplace, then it's not going to show the PPE on the Safe Workplace overall dashboard. So just make sure that when you create stockrooms, that those stockrooms are associated with a location that's associated with the Safe Workplace app, and they'll show up.
Perfect. Thank you again. So that does appear to be the end of our questions. Thank you, Scott, for the presentation and demo today, and everyone for your attendance. As a follow-up from today's webcast, we ask that you complete a short 1-minute survey when you exit. You will be receiving a link to our resource center on our website, where you can access the recording from today's webcast as well as a copy of the presentation. After today's webcast, you'll do the drawing for the $25 Amazon gift card. Anyone that attended the entire webcast will be eligible. We will then notify the winner. And then if you have any follow-up questions, you can contact Jean Landmesser. Her information, her email's right here on the screen, and she'll get back with you. I want to thank everyone again for attending the webcast, and have a great day.
Thank you.